Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Yep, we're working there. Everything's working. Mic is working. Okay. Hello, YouTube. We're gonna get started with the net in just a bit, so hang tight. I forgot to blast health and early notice on Mastodon and all the other areas that I blast the notice that on. So we're gonna do that here right now. Alright, we're almost ready. Just a couple more minutes, folks. We'll get going. Don't worry. I'm running a little late, but I'm trying my best to get going as fast as I can. Alrighty, sorry about the delay, folks. Um, I arrived kind of late at my shack, but that's okay. We'll get the net started. One moment while I reset Kilo Juliet 7 Oscar Mike Oscar for ID. Alrighty. Hey, welcome to the Worldwide Pride Net, also known as the Pride Radio Group Net. I'm Kimberly Kilo Juliet 7 Oscar Mike Oscar, your net control operator. My pronouns are she, her. This net is a roundtable for general discussions and friendly chats. Please direct all calls through the net control station. We meet every Sunday at 2 a.m. Coordinated Universal Time. Before we begin, is there any emergency or priority traffic? If there is an emergency at any time, please say break, break, and we will assist you promptly. This net provides a safe place for members of the LGBTQIA+ community and their allies to connect over the airwaves. It is open to all licensed amateur radio operators without the need for membership. We also welcome a third-party traffic. Speaking of memberships, the Pride Radio Group fosters an inclusive environment for learning, experimenting, and enjoying radio communications. We encourage, promote, and support diversity within the wider radio community. We share our experiences and knowledge, celebrate Pride on the air, and welcome all individuals. To learn more about the Pride Radio Group, join us, and gain access to our Discord chat room, visit prideradio.group. That is prideradio.group. Or check out Victor Kilo 3 Papa Romeo Golf or Kilo 3 Papa Romeo Golf on QRZ. Membership is free and all are welcome, regardless of who you are and who you love. Unless you harbor hatred towards us, of course. This net is being relayed on the Pride Radio Network and its affiliated systems, including Allstar, Echolink, IRLP, DMR, YSF Reflector, WiresX, M17, NXDN, P25, and D-Star, as well as Zello. It is also broadcasted live on Broadcastify and my YouTube channel, searchable by my call sign Kilo Juliet 7 Oscar Mike Oscar. For more information on how to connect to this network or access our live streams, visit PrideRadioNetwork.com. That is PrideRadioNetwork.com. You can also track and follow this net by downloading NetLogger for Windows, Linux, or Mac OS from netlogger.org. That is netlogger.org. NetLogger allows you to log into the net, view real-time call signs, and actively participate. For Android and iPhone users, you may download On-Air Net Scraper instead. That is On-Air Net Scraper. Now, before we start tonight's net, does anyone have news, announcements, or other items to share with the net and the Pride Radio Group? Let's move on to check-ins for the Worldwide Pride Net, also known as the Pride Radio Group Net. We'll begin with mobile stations, those short on time, and those who plan to participate briefly. If you fall into these categories, you may come forward with your call sign slowly, twice, and phonetically. Feel free to share your pronouns as well. This is Kilo Juliet 7 Oscar Mike Oscar. Standing by for check-ins from mobile, time-constrained, and brief stations. Hearing no response, we will now take check-ins from anyone anywhere. If you'd like to join the Worldwide Pride Net, also known as the Pride Radio Group Net, please provide your call signs slowly, twice, and phonetically. You may also share your pronouns if you wish.
W7AYQ, Whiskey 7 Alpha Yankee Quebec, Emily, Portland, Oregon, she, her.
Alrighty, Whiskey 7 Alpha Yankee Quebec, got you down. Who else is out there wishing to check in? Alrighty, do we have anybody else out there wishing to check in? Please come out with your call signs slowly, twice, and phonetically, and we'll get you added onto the list.
VK5 Zulu Sierra Hotel, just in and out for now there, Kimberley. Afternoon, evening, morning all.
Victor Kilo 5 Zulu Sierra Hotel, got your in and out. Thank you for stopping by in 7-3, and feel free to come back anytime. Who else is out there wishing to check in? All I need are your call signs slowly, twice, and phonetically, and we'll get you jotted down on the net logger there and get you added on the list and include you in the conversation. Please come now with your call signs slowly, twice, and phonetically. If any of you are not able to check in via voice, then you may check in via NetLogger, the YouTube live stream, Mastodon, Discord. You can also check in by sending me an email, and you can find my email address by going to qrz.com and looking my call sign up, which is Kilo Juliet 7 Oscar Mike Oscar. Or if you happen to have access to me via my private social media links, then you can go ahead and check in through that as well. We're going to make one more call for check-ins before we start going through the list. Anybody, anywhere, if you'd like to check in, please come now with your call signs slowly, twice, then phonetically, and feel free to share your pronouns as well. This is Kilo Juliet 7 Oscar Mike Oscar standing by for any additional check-ins to the net. Oh, and one more thing I forgot to mention. You can also check in via WinLink as well. I accept check-ins via WinLink too. Alright, well, doesn't look like there's anybody else out there at this time. Maybe they'll show up in a little bit, who knows. But, anyways, We're going to toss it over to W7AYQ from KJ7OMO. Take it away, Erica. Oh, I mean Emily, sorry. My brain is scrambled.
Not to worry, that's about how I feel as well this evening. This is W7AYQ in Portland, Oregon. Good to finally actually make it onto this net. I mean, I believe I connected with you, KJ7OMO, on Mastodon some time ago, and unfortunately, it's difficult for me sometimes in the evenings where to get onto the net because I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, and bedtime, and so on and so forth. If you see what I mean by that. Anyhow, I'm having an okay day. Went to the park with the kids today, and they ran around, and then they went over to their grandparents' house down the street and went in the kiddie pool, and then we made a nice dinner. So it was pretty low key around here. Not much to complain about. I am currently working radio-wise. I'm currently working on trying to figure out how I can mount an HF antenna on my roof. Part of the problem with that is that it's not like I'm space restricted, but I am mobility restricted, and it is hard for me to get up onto the roof. I mean, I'll even go so far as to say it's impossible. So what I really need is someone to go up there, and play with wires while I sit down at the bottom and fiddle with the radio. So until that magical person shows up in my life, I am currently without an HF rig. So I'm like, well, maybe I'll get something mobile and do POTA activations. I don't know. I have this general license that I'm not using, and I really ought to use it. I really want to do HF, but unfortunately, just the antenna thing is my big stumbling block at the moment. Anyhow, yeah, I hope some other folks show up to the net, but I'll toss it back over to you, KJ7OMO, and maybe we can get another couple check-ins. W7AYQ.
W7AYQ from KJ7OMO returning. Copy that. Well, sounds like you've got quite a bit on your plate there with getting your HF going, but hopefully you will get your HF going and you'll be able to make some contacts, and who knows, we might be able to work each other on HF. I do reliably get a signal up to your area quite often from here in Yuma, Arizona, on HF, so who knows, we might be able to catch each other on the air. At the moment, my HF operations are very crippled because my two 100-watt radios have completely bit the dust, so I am left with a 10-watt radio for HF, and that's all I got, and that's all I'm able to afford and that's all I'm able to have until I'm able to afford another radio again, which won't happen for several more years, so I'm stuck with a 10-watt radio for several years. Unless, of course, I get lucky. Hi. Anyways, let's see, what's going on here in my neck of the woods? Not much. Just a boring day after boring day. Alright, normally we get about, 5 to 8 people, sometimes up to 10. But here lately, the net has been really, really slow. Haven't been much activity on the net. But hopefully we'll pick up some activity again here soon. And speaking of more activity, let's see if we can get some more activity on here. Who else is out there on the net wishing to check in? All I need are your call signs slowly, twice, and phonetically. And you may share your pronouns as well if you like. This is Kilo Juliet 7 Oscar Mike Oscar, and I will stand by for any additional check-ins to the net. All right, do we have anyone else out there wishing to check in before I toss it right back up to the top? I mean, don't get me wrong, Kimberly and Emily show is fun, but I would love to have more folks added to the list. So, who else is out there wishing to join the conversation? Please come now, and we'll get you on the list, and we'll have a blast here on the Worldwide Pride Net, also known as the Pride Radio Group Net. Please come now with your call signs slowly, twice, and phonetically. If anybody's listening on the YouTube, feel free to check in via the live chat. I'll take check-ins via the live stream as well. No problem. I tell you what, it's quieter than a church mouse out there at the moment. It's so quiet that not even the crickets are chirping. That's how quiet it is. W7AYQ from KJ7OMO, we'll toss it back to you, and hopefully the others will show up. Sometimes they show up later, so we'll see what happens. Back to you.
Oh, this is W7AYQ returning. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what to do about radio, about HF stuff. I've got currently I do not have an HF transceiver. I have someone is supposed to be long-term lending me an ICOM 7300, which is going to be amazing, but that was promised and has not shown up yet. So I'll defer until that actually happens. There's someone near me who has a Xiegu G90, which is a QRP mobile, I think, unit that puts out 20 watts, which I will probably end up taking, which should be fine if I want to do, like, POTA or something, which will be great, but I have no idea. The main stumbling block for me right now, like I said, is antennas. I've been reading so much and I've been learning so much, and right now I'm at major decision paralysis, and as well as just having difficulty figuring out the practicalities of how and where to mount everything, and it's just, I just gotta figure something out. So one of my friends said recently, the antenna that you have is better than no antenna, because you can get on the air with any antenna, better than you can get on the air with no antenna. So right now I am currently stuck with nothing. So I would love to try to coordinate something with you and see if we can hit each other from where I am. Yeah, I'm up in Portland. So I mean, what is Yuma? About 1,000 miles away or so. I don't even know too much about bands or whatever. Just it would have to be the right time of day, to run on 10 meters or 20 meters or whatever. I have not like I said, I have no practical knowledge of any of this. I just got my license back in February, and I've been sort of throwing myself headlong into this, and I'm really enjoying it, but man, am I constrained by not being able to get up on the roof. Anyhow, I'll toss it back over to you, KG7OMO from W7AYQ.
W7AYQ from KJ7OMO returning. Yeah, copy that. For me anyways, and for quite a few people in the West Coast, 40 meters tends to make really short hops around this time of evening. Like, I get mostly nearby stations, relatively nearby, you know, like Los Angeles area and San Diego area. Northern California, I get some a lot. And I also get Washington and Oregon stations as well. I picked them up quite strongly. And so, yeah, it is definitely possible for us to connect via HF around this time, on 40 meters at least. And as for antenna, well, if you just want to get on the air right away and not fuss too much, all you would need is a 9 to 1 balun and a random length of wire. You don't even need to measure it or anything. Just a very long thing of wire. Very long. About maybe, I don't know, maybe 30, 40, 50 feet. That should be good. You know, and just string it up somewhere. You don't have to have it perfectly straight or perfectly whatever. You could even bend it around if you need to. It'll still work. And with an antenna tuner, you could tune pretty much all of the bands. I mean, sure, it's not as good as many of the other antennas out there, and it's probably going to be a little noisier too, but hey, it does get the job. It does get you on the air, and surprisingly, it works. That's actually what I'm using at the moment. I'm actually using a random wire. I don't know how long it is, but it is very, very long, and I do have a 9 to 1 balun on it. And surprisingly, I can actually reliably work stations all over the world with that setup. It's quite the amazing little setup that I have. But yeah, again, if you just want a quick setup, just throw a wire up, and you'll be amazed at what you could do with it. And as for lack of radios, yeah, that really sucks. The G90 will get you places, for sure. That'll definitely work. If for some reason the G90 doesn't come to fruition, then you can always just connect via the internet to somebody else's, HF station. If you go to a site called RemoteHams.com, I don't quite remember. Remote Hams is free. There's also a similar service called Remote Ham Radio, I think, or something like that, but that one is a paid service. So you want the RemoteHams.com. You can for sure get to it if you Google search for RC4, that is Romeo Charlie Foxtrot Oscar Romeo Bravo. Search for RC4 ham radio client, and there you go. You can use that to connect with other HF stations and make use of other people's equipment. Once in a while I do list my radio on there, but not always. But yeah, if you'd like to give HF a shot, I'll be willing to let you remote control mine, though, for a bit. Though keep in mind it is a QRP rig, so there are a lot of struggles. But you'll still get somewhere with it. Let me reset. Kilo Juliet 7 Oscar Mike Oscar returning. But yeah, we'll definitely coordinate something for sure, and get you on the air one way or another. All right, but I'm just rambling now, so let's go ahead and take another peek at out into Radioland Air and see if we have any other station out there that's wishing to join us right here on the Worldwide Pride Net, also known as the Pride Radio Group Net. All I need are your call signs slowly, twice, and phonetically, and you may share us your pronouns if you wish. This is your net control station, Kilo Juliet 7 Oscar Mike Oscar, and I will be standing by for any additional check-ins to the net.
This is N3VEM, November 3, Victor Echo Mike, Vance, he, him.
Oops, I got the call sign on NetLogger wrong. November 3, Victor Echo Mike, got you down. Sorry for the long pause there. I accidentally messed up on the NetLogger. But I got that problem. I got that mess up fixed. Who else is out there wishing to check in? Let's get some more folks added to the list and get this party really going. Alright, one more time. Do we have any additional stations out there wishing to check in? Alright, well, slowly but surely the folks are trickling in. And November 3, Victor Echo Mike from Kilo Juliet 7, Oscar Mike Oscar, we'll toss it over to you.
Good deal. Thanks for that. Thanks for running the net as usual. And yeah, I literally turned the radio on right as you were calling to check for additional check-ins. The kiddos were watching a movie and their movie wound down, and one of them was playing Mario here for a little bit and just went off and went to bed, and I fired the radio up to see if I could catch any of you. So yeah, since I literally just turned the radio on, I don't know what specific topics may have been getting tossed around this evening, but I'm now plunked down in front of my computer and going through actually working on sending out emails for the amateur radio inclusivity pledge thing that I do. So had reviewed a bunch of clubs' website and information in June, and so now I'm emailing a whole bunch of clubs to tell them what I found and ask them if I missed anything before I published results at the end of July. So that's my exciting evening, is just sending a lot of emails to, I guess, 40-ish or so clubs that I was perusing websites for in June. So that's the scoop for me for this evening at the moment. Back to net, N3 VEM.
Alright, N3VEM from KJ7 OMO returning. Copy that. Well, we've been talking about mostly radios and antennas at the moment. And maybe a couple other things. I've lost track. But yeah, it sounds like you got a lot of fun going on at the moment, saying it sarcastically, because I'm pretty sure it's really tough sending out email after email after email, and ugh, that sounds like a chore. Alright, before we toss it back up to the top, was there any other station trying to get in? Alrighty, W7AYQ from KJ7OMO. We'll toss the mic right back over to you.
W7AYQ, were you talking to me?
Yippers, W7AYQ from KJ7OMO, tossing it right back over to you.
Standby one. Yeah, sorry, our local AriesNet just started, and I wanted to make sure I got checked into that. So let's talk antennas for a moment. What is the difference between a random wire antenna and an end-fed half wave. I ask because I see multiple kits and build projects for doing end-fed half waves, and that is not beyond my technical ability to do. The main question is exactly how to mount it, like where to put it. Like, am I supposed to put it vertically, or like I don't have anything tall I can like throw it over like a tree or anything like that in my house. But I'm sure I can come up with something. So what is the difference between a random wire and an end-fed half wave? In an end-fed half wave, your feed line is the counterpoise. Am I right? And you can just use that with something like the built-in tuner in the in say like the Xiegu G90, which I understand is probably the easiest way to go, like, or sort of path of least resistance for me. Simply because it will involve the least like technical monkeying with things. So I'm curious if you can give me some clarity on that. Like, what am I supposed to like? What am I supposed to do at this point? W7AYQ.
VK5 ZSH.
Alright, VK5ZSH, we got you right back in there. Stand by. W7AYQ from KJ7, OMO returning. So, difference between an end-fed half wave and a random wire, well, both are very similar. They're both end-fed. They're both long wires. They both will use the coax as the counterpoise. The only difference is, on a end-fed half wave, the wire is cut to a very specific length according to whatever frequency you want to, use. And it would typically use a 49-to-1 balun. And that wire will typically work on, harmonics of those frequencies. So if you cut your wire to, let's say, 7 megahertz, then it would also work on 14 and 21, I think, and so on. Whereas a random wire, well, it's not cut to any specific length. It's just one long random piece of wire that you have no idea how long it is. And typically 9-to-1 baluns are hooked up to that typically. And those usually tune pretty much anything, including the WARC bands. They'll tune pretty much anything. So yeah, both are essentially the same, just slightly different configurations. That's all it is. But anybody out there with a lot more knowledge can correct me if I'm wrong or give more, info, etc. Alright, looks like VK5ZSH has checked back in, so we're going to toss it right over to him. KJ7OMO. Victor Kilo 5, Zulu Sierra Hotel from Kilo Juliet 7, Oscar Mike Oscar. Okay, apparently Dale has an issue with his radio, so we'll get back with him in a bit. N3VEM from KJ7 OMO, over to you.
Okay, good deal. Yeah, and I don't know, I heard disconnect message for W7AYQ, so we may have lost her, I'm not sure. So I'll keep my answer short just in case I end up needing to repeat it. But yeah, I think, Kimberler, you gave pretty much like the perfect summary, too lazy didn't read version, because the only things I would add to your answer would be kind of like the more granular, nitpicky details that would really only matter if you decided to actually try to build one. But for just kind of high level, the differences between the two antennas types, I think you pretty much nailed it. The only thing that I usually add when I tell people about a random wire is that there's the only art to the random wire is to not actually use a random length, and I only say that because depending what length you use, it's pretty easy to accidentally end up with a length that is not actually random. So I always tell people, like, even though it's random, in theory it shouldn't be resonant on any specific ham band. There's a website, and I wish I knew it off the top of my head. I Google for it every time I need, but there's a website that actually has a chart that shows you like what lengths to avoid if you want to keep your random wire truly random and not accidentally end up on a ham band or the harmonica one. But yeah, other than that, I would have given the same answer you did, but probably a lot less succinct and more complicated, so I think you nailed it. Over to that N3VEM.
N3VEM from KJ7 OMO returning with traffic from W7AYQ via Macedon, who says, "Kid bath time, thanks, 7-3, and unquote. So it looks like she disconnected because she needed to take care of her kid. But we'll keep an ear out for her in case she ever returns. So in the meantime, I've checked her out on NetLogger. Yeah, I've seen something, a chart like that before, and I just cannot remember where to find, where I saw it at, and where even to find it, or even what the chart is called. But yeah, that was a neat little chart there to help, figure out what lengths of wire we need in order to, work, whatever combination of bands you want. Though, in my situation, well, since this wire was already dangling from a utility pole, and this wire hadn't been hooked up to anything in more than 20 years, I figure, well, I'll go ahead and hook, stick my balun on there and hook my HF station up to it and see what I can do with it. I have no way of measuring that thing because, yeah, there's just no way of measuring that wire. But somehow it's somewhat resonant on 160. I can get it on 160, but it's really difficult to tune. Well, it's not resonant on 160, but with the tuner I could somewhat get 160, but very difficult. I could reliably tune it for 80, though not perfectly, but I get, acceptable SWR on 80. I can tune it for 60. I can tune it for 40, 30, 17, 15, 12. And I can tune a small part of 10 meters around 29 megahertz. And when I had a 6-meter capable radio, I don't anymore because I sent it back to where I bought it from because it was just generally a terrible radio. But when I had it, I was able to tune a small part of 6 meters as well. So, yeah, I'm quite happy with this weird antenna that I have. And if I wanted the rest of 10 meters, well, I got my CB antenna for that, though I generally avoid transmitting into that antenna because every time I transmit into my CB antenna, absolutely everything in my house that is electronic would just go absolutely bonkers and haywire, and yeah, it'll pretty much shut everything down in the house until I let go the transmit button. And it even badly screws up the digital mode interfaces to my radio, so I can't even use, digital modes on that antenna. So, yeah. I just avoid 10 meters in the meantime until I'm able to figure out a way I can get on it, get on the, portion of 10 meters that I want to get on without causing havoc with my house. I mean, I would love for that random wire to be, able to tune the lower part of 10 meters where I'd like to hang out at, but unfortunately it won't do it, so, yeah. Anyways, let's see if we have anybody else out there wishing to check in. Please come down with your call sign slowly, twice, and phonetically if you'd like to get added to the list and join us on the Worldwide Pride Net, also known as the Pride Radio Group Net.
VK5 ZSH.
VK5ZSH, we hear you now. Excellent. Who else is out there wishing to check in? Alright, VK5ZSH from KJ7OMO. Go ahead and take it.
Yeah, thanks for that, Kimberly. I had a beautiful over there, plus got the alligator, plus had a little bit more, and lo and behold, I was talking to the wrong talk group, wasn't I? So, yes, I kept some people amused there about talking about random wires and end-fed half-waves. Now, for the station, now I've got to rewind and do it all again. For the station that was asking about end-fed half-waves and random wires, okay, there is a cutting chart for random wire antennas out on the net. Basically, you're not falling in any wavelength of a tuned band, basically. So, i.e., the wire won't be tuned for 80 meters, it won't be tuned for any of its harmonics, etc. A end-fed half-wave, with that, you tune it for the lowest band that you want, or the lowest frequency. So if you want to do a 80 meter end-fed half-wave, for instance, you'll tune that for 3.5 megahertz, well, probably about 3.550 megahertz there for that one. And then from there, you should be able to, what you're doing with an end-fed half-wave is you're not aiming for an absolute, one-to-one SWR, basically, because it's almost hard to achieve that with an end-fed half-wave. But you go for the lowest SWR that you can possibly get, anything under 2 to 1, you should be able to get at least down to 1.5, which is nice. Then sorry, I got the alligator there. And then from there, you should be able to, with the harmonics, then going from 80, 40, etc. Those subsequent harmonics should fool you into a point where you shouldn't actually have to use a tuner. So the extra harmonics probably sit around, an SWR of say 2 to 1 type thing, which is not too bad. You can get away with it, and your radio won't be trying to dial itself back RF wise because the SWR is too high. So what else is there with infrared half waves? 49 to 1 balance, they'll commonly be used, you'll commonly get those on a, say, 40 metre to 10 metre infrared half wave. 64 to 1 balance is what you'll commonly sort of get with 80 metres. You might be able to squeeze 160 into there as well. What else can I say? That's probably about it there. And with an infrared half wave, you can run them vertically and you can run them horizontally, basically. If you run them vertically, you've got to run out a counterpoise system to actually increase the grounding there. And one thing with infrared half waves is you need to have a really good station earth, because infrared half waves like that little bit of pushback there, and they seem to work better when they've got that little bit of pushback there. As for building them, the actual transformer, hang on. Yeah, as for building the transformer, you can go 2 ways with it. You can have it where you have a tail that comes out of the transformer, so your counterpoise is running that way, and that becomes actually easier to tune because you can actually set that to, okay, this is exactly how much counterpoise you need. And counterpoise, you need at a rough gauge, 0.05 of a lambda, which is your full wavelength of the band that you're trying to tune for. So yeah, it's easier to have your counterpoise as a separate wire, basically, unless you're happy with, if you do make a mistake, chopping up your coax to make it better. So using your coax as a counterpoise, I'm not a big fan of it because it can get iffy, and you've got to run some current chokes and stuff like that, so that you can keep RF out of the shack. Hopefully that's enough information to sort of boggle you a little bit for a while there. And yeah, sorry for the long overs there, Kimberly. So I'll throw it back to you there, Kimberly. KJ7IMO, VJ5, ZSH in the Worldwide Pride Radio Net.
VK5ZSH from KJ7 OMO returning. Unfortunately, that station had disconnected, but that's okay because we're streaming live on YouTube and YouTube records everything. So we'll be sure to give her a, the link to the live stream so that she could be able to later on listen to all that information that you just gave us, which is some very valuable information right there. So hopefully this would be some enough information for her to get started. And she did had a question about how she should mount the antenna or whatever. And well, long wire antennas are very forgiving. So they don't need to be mounted perfectly straight. They don't need to be mounted, in a specific way. If she has, a tall tree, for example, she can mount it up. She could throw it up that. If she does not, but, she has something else, high enough, she could probably throw it up there. Heck, she could even just throw it up the roof and just anchor it somewhere and it'll also work. Or if she doesn't have very much room, but the wire is like longer than she has room, that's okay. She could also, start the wire from wherever she wants to start it and, bend it around or snake it around or whatever. And, and anchor it somewhere. I mean, long wires, again, are very forgiving antennas. So, they are, that's what makes them, how do I say it? Yeah, they're very forgiving antennas, so that makes them, very easy to deploy and use. And you do get fairly good results. I mean, again, they're not as efficient as, a purpose-built antenna. And they're also noisier than pretty much any other antenna out there. But hey, at least it gets the job done, and it gets you on the air. So again, hopefully this is enough information to get her going. Alright, we're going to toss it right over to N3VEM. This is KJ7 OMO, your net control station. Go ahead and take it away, Vance.
Okay, good deal. Yeah, the only additional thing I'll add, just for the sake of, so it's there on the recording, is I did find the website that has that cut chart that I referred to whenever I was cutting random wire antennas. So it's actually apparently someone at the University of Delaware, I'm assuming probably in their physics or engineering department somewhere, is the one that I had found, and it's a little bit of a weird website, but it's udel.edu/mm/ham/random wire. So that's just for the record, in case she comes back to the recording and looks up any info. I did dig the website up in the meantime. And yeah, Kimberly, like you, I used a random wire for a while when I first was setting up a station kind of at home. Well, my first station at home was actually in our master bedroom closet because we were doing some work in the house. So my first home station was literally in our closet with our clothes. But there was a small window in there, so right outside the window I had the I guess technically it's an unun for a random wire, but yeah, I had the 9-to-1 unun right outside the window, and so I would open the window and reach my coax out and attach to the unun, and the other end was pitched over a tree in the backyard. So yeah, whatever you can get out there with those, they can be forgiving. And just to anecdotally confirm, the antenna is still working all right if they kind of jog in different directions. My current antenna is HF antenna is an 80-meter off-center fed, which does make actually it's sharper than a 90-degree bend. It goes from a tree in my front yard across the top of my house to a tree in the opposite corner of the backyard, but it was about, 15, 20 feet too short, so the antenna makes a bend and then gets pitched over a tree on the other side of the yard. So it's kind of this like kind of L-shaped, but narrower than a 90-degree angle. It actually probably cuts back on itself a little bit. So it made tuning it a little finicky, but for a random wire that's not tuned, yeah, whatever you need to, however you need to bend it to make them fit, they'll usually work great. And yeah, the other thing I had done, since we're talking antennas, here at home, when I was kind of getting stuff set up and was using various temporary arrangements, I actually did the rain gutter thing for a while too, where I literally just hammered a piece of rebar into the ground where one of my downspouts came down, and put the ground side to that, and put the the center of the coax to the bottom of the downspout, which essentially went up up the house and then across the top of the house. So it essentially made like an inverted L out of my rain gutters, and that worked pretty well for me on most of the ham bands. Didn't basically 10 meters and up, well, 10 meters through 80 meters. 160 it wouldn't tune on, and 20 meters gave me all kinds of RF issues if I transmitted at anything more than like 5 watts. So it was okay on like on sideband on most bands at 20 meters. I just had to keep it to digital modes at like 5 watts so that I didn't have the effect like you described with your one antenna on 10 meters. But yeah, that's kind of my additional comments on the antenna pieces and jogging them around and just kind of doing whatever you need to do to make do. It's, I guess the old standard advice of any antenna is better than no antenna is kind of the name of the game at the end of the day. Back to net. N3 VEM.
Oh, N3 VEM from KJ7 OMO returning. Copy that. Any antenna is indeed better than no antenna. And if you were to transmit with no antenna, well, the only thing you'll be doing is creating magic smoke. And worse. So, yeah, you gotta have an antenna. And, well, wait a moment, any antenna is better than no antenna. Well, that saying is not exactly right either, because if you put the wrong antenna on there, then guess what? You might as well be operating without an antenna, because you're still going to let the magic smoke out and burn your radio out. So the antenna has to be tunable to whatever frequency that you're wanting to operate in order to ensure that your radio doesn't burn out. But, anyways, lots of good stuff for Emily to go through when she is able to, listen to the stream. And I'll be sure to tell her about it. Alright, well, we're at the bottom of the list, folks, so let's see if we have anybody else out there wishing to check into the Worldwide Pride Net, also known as the Pride Radio Group Net. All I need from you are your call signs slowly, twice, and phonetically, and you may share us your pronouns if you wish. This is Kilo Juliet 7, Oscar Mike Oscar, she, her, your net control station for the Worldwide Pride Net, also known as the Pride Radio Group Net, and I will now start taking more check-ins. So if you'd like to get added to the list and join the conversation, please come now with your call signs slowly, twice, and phonetically. Come on, people, don't be shy. Pick up your mics and say hi. And spit out your call signs, of course, slowly, twice, and phonetically if you'd like to join us on the net. I'll be dropping my carrier, and we'll see who else is out there wishing to check in. Alrighty. Again, folks, if you're hearing this and you're not able to check in to the net via voice, rather, for, whatever reason, this includes folks who are not licensed. We'll bring them in as well, no worries. But for anybody, licensed or not, that is unable to check into our net via voice, you are more than welcome to check in via the YouTube live stream, the NetLogger. You can also check in via Mastodon, Discord. You can also check in by sending me an email, and you can find my email address by looking up my call sign on QRZ. It is Kilo Juliet 7 Oscar Mike Oscar. And if you're licensed and would like to check in via WinLink, you can also check in via WinLink. I welcome WinLink check-ins as well. And of course, if you know me personally on my personal social media sites, then you can also check in via that as well. All right, VK5ZSH will get you right back in there. KJ7OMO. Take it away, Dale.
Yeah, thanks there, Kimberly. How does this audio sound to you there as well too, Kimberly? On my All-Star node, for some reason my receive audio is a bit splattery. It's clipping, so somewhere there's some over deviation happening. But how does this sound to you?
Well, I'm not sure. Kind of sounds okay. I mean, I could copy you back to you, and I'll listen to your transmission for a bit and give you a more accurate report.
Yeah, all right. Extra note here for Emily. Have a look up this call sign, Alpha 5 Tango Bravo. That's Alpha 5 Tango Bravo. He's got a website going there, and a wealth of information there, more than you can imagine and stuff. He goes into NFET halfways, dipoles, etc., and all the theory and mathematics, etc., behind it, and how to build proper transformers, etc. So, highly recommend that guide, that website. Also, you can eliminate a bit of your noise too on long wires and NFET halfways, etc. by, for starters, having a good station earth. Highly recommended how much noise you can actually break down by just having a good station earth, and if you have to make a common mode current choke and place that choke on your coax on the outside before it enters your shack. And yeah, just little things like that is actually how you can actually overcome a lot of your noise, etc. There, and yeah, have fun basically. So yeah, all right, I'll put it back to you there, Kimberly. KJ7 OMO VK5 ZSH.
VK5 ZSH from KJ7 OMO returning. Copy that. Yes, lots of good stuff there. Chock-a-block full of good stuff. And yeah, there's so much information out there. It's pretty awesome. And yes, I do agree that having a good earth, or as we say it in the United States, ground, is quite vital as well. Yeah. I could definitely confirm that for sure, because when I had my 100-watt setup, at the time it was with my Vintage Rid, because at the time that's all I had. I didn't have a proper earth, or ground, and whenever I transmit and try to touch a knob or something on the radio, well, oh boy. Let's just say I had quite the electrifying experience. Every time. N3VEM from KJ7 OMO, over to you.
Okay, good deal. And yeah, Dale, from on your audio too. From my end, your audio sounds, it's very copyable. It sounds maybe a little hollow, but that's probably more kind of from microphone or whatever, or something in kind of the digital transcoding. But it's not, it doesn't sound bad. It just sounds kind of like maybe you're in a big room and a little far from the mic, but, volume is good and everything sounds very copyable on it from my end, so definitely perfectly fine for communication stuff. And yeah, on the grounding and earthing, there's actually a pretty neat document that I believe Motorola published that is flying around out there on the internet, that they used for like their communication sites. It's basically like their policies and procedures and guidelines for grounding at their commercial communication tower sites, and it's some pretty intense stuff. But if I tell folks like read through that and then go, okay, well, it's probably not quite reasonable for me to do all of that, but if I can do some of it, it's better than nothing. So I kind of, when I was setting up my home station, I used some of that as a guideline. So, kind of standard stuff, try to keep everything bonded to the same potential, keep my station grounds bonded to my, same as my main electrical grounds. And I had started, but I have not yet finished, what they do at their sites is the exterior ground wire that's buried. They basically make a loop around the building with it the whole way, and that way anything coming in and out of the building kind of gets bonded at that loop. So just by the nature of where my shack is, and then getting it bonded to where my main electrical ground is, I probably have, it goes like maybe halfway around my house. So, it goes my shack, the ground goes out the front, and then it kind of goes around, and I have a couple ground rods along the way. So in theory, if I run the ground wire around the other half of my house, I would have the full loop like the Motorola sites. But it's at least all my stuff is tied together, which is a good start anyway. And Kimberly, if you get a chance and you think about it, Maybe when it comes back to you, I think you have talked about maybe using Owncast in the past. For when I'm doing these rocket launches, I've started kind of toying with the idea of maybe doing some version of live streaming when I launch them. I don't have a YouTube channel. I do have a PeerTube channel, but I haven't played around with if PeerTube does streaming, but I know there's Owncast and stuff. So, yeah, if you've dabbled with any of those and want to point me in a direction of any to check out, I'd appreciate that too. So, yeah, back to net. N3, VEM.
N3 VEM from KJ7 at OMO returning. Well, I've had experience. I had a lot of. I do most of my streaming on YouTube, but I did had some very limited experience streaming on Twitch. And Owncast, I heard about them. I was going to check them out, but then procrastination got me, and then I forgot about it for a long time, and then you reminded me of it. So, yeah, I'll definitely take a look at Owncast here if I don't procrastinate and forget about it, and and yeah, and see what I can make of it. But yeah, anyways, my brain's a little scrambled, so let's take a peek out at Radioland since we're at the bottom of the list, and let's see if we have any other stations out there wishing to join us right here on the on the Worldwide Pride Net, also known as the Pride Radio Group Net. If you'd like to join us on the net and have a little fun on the conversation, all you need to do is say your call signs slowly, twice, and phonetically. And you may also share your pronouns if you like. This is your net control station, Kimberly, Kilo Juliet 7, Oscar Mike Oscar, pronouns are she, her, and I will be standing by for any additional check-ins to the net. Do we have any other station out there wishing to check into the net at this time? You know what? I need to check Echolink real quick. Because our Echolink connections sometimes will go out on us, and that's a known bug on All-Star. Sometimes it'll drop Echolink connections. One moment while I check out a potential issue. Kilo Juliet 7, Oscar Mike Oscar returning. Sorry about that. I was doing a connectivity check on our Echolink relay here, and it appears that there's only one-way traffic coming from it, but nothing going to it. So I'll have to put in a note to the person who takes care of that reflector to poke it and get it back up and running again. Alright, before we kick it right back up to the top, is there any other station out there wishing to check in? This is Kilo Juliet 7, Oscar Mike Oscar, standing by for any additional check-ins to the net. Alrighty, VK5ZSH from KJ7OMO. We'll toss it right back to you.
Yeah. Thanks there, Kimberly. Yeah, I'm back over on digital now. Yeah, I was running analog previously before, so obviously my All-Star node is doing its job, and obviously the audio is receivable. I'm just getting sort of a bit of a flutter my end, so I'm not exactly sure what's going on there, but I will pop over on ANZELnet later on, well, at the ANZEL network, and have a listen and see how those sound over there. One thing I have to stipulate about a station Earth, please don't hook it to your mains Earth. Actually drive down a separate copper-clad snake, there we go, down in the ground, and do it that way. And the other thing not to do with the station Earth is don't daisy chain stuff. Have a inside where you hook your equipment to. Have yourself a bus bar through there for your ground, and then each appliance that you've got, radio wires, etc., you connect it to the bus bar with its own lead, basically, and that will save you a lot of issues with ground loops, etc., there, because yeah, they can get to be a bit of a pain to nut out later on down the track when you go, hang on, why is this happening? It shouldn't be, type thing. So yeah, if you keep those sort of little things in mind there, and yeah, yeah, sorry, I've got the gong. As streaming, how do you want to do the video streaming? Because you might want to check out the Horus high altitude balloon stuff that we do here in Australia in SA, the amateur radio experimenters group here in Adelaide. They do it. The next payload that's actually going up is looking at having another camera on it, etc., and that streams back down to the ground on 70 centimetres there. All low RF output stuff, but there's multiple receivers to actually receive all that telemetry data, etc. And I think the next launch is also going to have a crossband repeater on it, and this will be in August, that they're planning on doing this, which will be good, because it's part of the 25th anniversary of the AREG's anniversary stuff. So, but you might want to check out that. Mark VK5QI, he's the guy guy to talk to. So if you're on Discord there, hit him up and ask him what they're doing, etc. So you might be able to incorporate a little bit of that sort of stuff into your rockets, but I don't know how big a payload, etc. you can carry. So anyway, I'll come back to you, Kimberly. KJ7, IMO, VK5, ZSH.
VK5 ZSH from KJ7 OMO returning. Yes, you've given us a very important point there, to never use your mains ground. To translate that, as we use different terminology here in the US, basically don't use the ground of the receptacle that you use to plug your AC items in. Don't use that. Cause, well, yeah, not good. Not good. That's a no-no. Cause, well, for one thing, that is very noisy. Another thing is, I don't think it's suitable for radio grounds, and yeah, I'm not sure what else is also not good for. But all I know is it's definitely not a good idea. And I one time measured voltage from ground to neutral, and there's a little tiny bit. Not a whole lot, but there was a little tiny bit there. Just a few volts or something. So, yeah. It's best just to avoid using the ground of your AC. AC power coming in. I don't even remember what the US terminology for that is. Anyways, N3VEM from KJ7 OMO, over to you.
Yep, yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, I know, so when I was setting my stuff up here, Ward Silver from the ARRL has a pretty decent book on the topic, and he describes exactly what you were talking about, not using that, essentially that third prong ground, and he has, kind of the more technical explanation, but yeah, kind of the piece of it that I always took away was that trying to use that ground is, long and meandering and goes who knows where in your house, and yeah, just asking for problems. So yeah, run in a kind of what he recommends, and what I guess is, technically per National Electric Code in most places in the U.S. is, yeah, your ham radio station is supposed to have its own ground, kind of a bus bar like Dale described. And then the only thing that they talk about in relation to like your main electrical service is your ground rod that you drive in, like outside your station, should be bonded to the ground rod that is driven in outside your electrical panel. So like where the electrical service comes into the house, there's a ground rod, and you're supposed to bond those two external ground rods together so that stuff is at the same potential. But yeah, definitely don't use the one that's in the mains running through the house. You're right, just asking for trouble. And yeah, I actually jotted down the VK4QI, so I might ping them there and kind of see what they're doing. For the first kind of attempt at it, I will probably just do streaming just from the ground of the launch. The payload that I'm making, I haven't stuck a camera in the payload on the rocket yet. There should be enough space to do it, but I'm working in a fairly tight space because part of what I'm trying to do is design my electronics payload to be like smaller and smaller. So like each iteration of the rocket, so I'm in the process of building version 3. I've actually been making the rockets smaller and smaller as I go, essentially, to get them lighter in weight and be able to launch higher, but also because it's, there's a lot of commercial electronics packages available for like the higher power rockets, but for like the mid power and low power stuff that you can essentially launch from a field if you have enough space. There's not as much stuff in that size range, so I've basically been trying to make everything as compact as I can. So I don't have a camera on the rocket currently. However, it is something that I kind of have sketched out some designs for and looked up some various cameras and boards, so I should be able to squeeze one in at some point. But yeah, it's essentially the rockets that I'm building right now. The inside diameter of the rocket, so the tube everything has to fit inside of, is 38 millimeters. So they're pretty narrow rockets. So it's kind of a jigsaw puzzle to kind of design and squeeze everything down in there. But yeah, it's something I'd like to fiddle with, and I don't know why it hadn't dawned on me before to kind of look at that 70 centimeters amateur TV type stuff, because there's definitely stuff out there for that. So I might look them up online and see what they're doing, and actually ping VK4QI there too. Back to net N3 VEM.
N3 VEM from KJ7OMO returning. Yes, rocket launches. One of these days I would love to give rocket launching a try. If I can ever afford the stuff I need to do that. Anyways, we're at the bottom of the list, so let's take another peek at Radioland and see who else is out there. Perhaps we'll shake the tree nice and hard with a tree shaking machine and see if, some other folks will drop from it. If you'd like to join us on the Worldwide Pride Net, also known as the Pride Radio Group Net, and get yourself added to the list and join the conversation, all I need are your call signs slowly, twice, and phonetically, and you may share your pronouns if you wish. This is Kilo Juliet 7, Oscar Mike Oscar, and I will stand by for more check-ins to the net. Alright, who else is out there wishing to check in? Please come now with your call signs slowly, twice, and phonetically if you'd like to be checked into the net. Alrighty, well, it appears that we don't have anybody else at this time, so we're gonna toss it back up to VK5ZSH from KJ7OMO. And don't forget, folks, you can check in via the YouTube live stream, NetLogger, Mastodon, Discord, email, WinLink, and anywhere else you are able to reach me. Over to you, Dale, from Kilo Juliet 7, Oscar Mike Oscar.
Yeah, Captain RMO, VK5 SH returning. Yeah, trying to work out what else I've got to add. Yeah, actually, for cameras, I'm actually playing around with some cameras that actually hook to ESP32 microcontrollers. For instance, like I'm talking, this isn't a real great form of measurement or anything like that, but yeah, the camera itself is like the size of a button type thing. Well, if you can imagine a shirt button, like I said, it's not the greatest forms of measurement there. I don't know, probably 5mm diameter, I would say. That would probably be something ideal for you to actually put in one of your payloads there. And because it's designed to work with a microcontroller, there's not actually much there that you really need to think about, basically. Like, it's, yeah, nothing elaborate. Use probably a few pins, basically. I haven't actually sat down and worked it out. But, yeah, the little cameras I've been playing around with, they're 2K resolution, which is not too bad, surprisingly. So yeah, I'm not sure how you go, well, where you would actually mount a camera like that. Like, I suppose you use it as a for when it splits apart. Yeah, not 100% sure actually, because I haven't actually played around with rockets and stuff like that. So yeah, that'd be an interesting one for you, and you can get some really low power ESP32 microcontrollers out there. And actually, someone linked me a web. Sorry, I keep getting the alligator today. Someone actually linked me a web page about ESP32s and the actual architecture of them, and how you can put various parts of it to actually conserve on more power, and end up sort of running it off of a AA size type battery. So yeah. Anyway, I'll put back to you there, Kimberly KJ7. I know VK5 SH.
VK5ZSH from KJ7, OMO returning. Yeah, copy that. I don't have anything to say at the moment, so N3VM, go ahead and take it from KJ7, OMO.
Good deal. Yeah. Well, and as you were describing them, I did a quick search for ESP32 cameras, and yeah, I'm looking at some. They've kind of got like the whole module, essentially, like even pre-packaged some of these. So some of these, it looks like they have for pretty inexpensive, like the whole kind of single board with everything right on it. The ESP32 module, the camera, you know, everything essentially mounted on one board. That is, the one I'm looking at, the board's, let's see, 40 millimeters is the length, 27 is the width, and 4.5. So 27 is less than 38 by 11 millimeters. So it would fit in there with some wiggle room. So yeah, that's, I'm gonna have to bookmark that. And yeah, people do different methods for the cameras. We have one of our little rockets that one of the kids built has a camera on it, and that one it's really low tech. It's one of those like key fob type cameras that you know, essentially you click a button on it and it just records straight to a little onboard SD card. And that one, the camera is, there's a little bit of a shroud to make it more aerodynamic, but that one, the camera is essentially just kind of strapped to the side with a rubber band. But for, you know, the slightly fancier ones and the bigger rockets, I've also seen people mount them essentially just in the payload, but then have essentially just a hole cut in the side of the rocket that's the right size that the camera lens can look out horizontally. Or if they want them to point down, I've also seen folks do essentially the same thing, just a hole cut in the side of the rocket, but then like a little shroud over the hole that actually just has like a little mirror in it, so that you're actually like pointing the camera into the mirror so that you're seeing the view coming up the side. If you have like a camera that's a little bigger, or you don't want the camera actually like hanging off the side of the rocket for some reason. So yeah, these, but yeah, the ESP32 ones is probably, I might actually have to just order one of these for this version 3 that I'm building right now, because boy, it is just so inexpensive and should fit right in there with the stuff I'm doing. And I take a little tiny mobile router with me anyway, because, you know, I have like a little ground station built, and essentially the ground station sends its data across the network so that I can use like an iPad or something to actually view the data. So I have a little Wi-Fi network there when I'm launching. So this seems like a pretty inexpensive way to just add some video to that. So I'm gonna have to give that a go. But yeah, with that, it's actually starting to get pretty late for me, so I might make this my last one. And as usual, I'm leaving the net with a whole bunch of extra browser tabs open with homework assignments for myself. So I'll say 73, but thanks for all the conversation and tips on interesting stuff to dig into over the next couple weeks. So I'll catch everybody another time, I'm sure. Back to net. N3 VEM.
Oh, N3 VEM from KJ7 OMO returning. Yeah, copy that. Lots of good stuff. And I shall say my 7-3s to you as well. And thank you for hanging out with us. And yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and wind things down as well. But first, before I do that, let's see if we have any additional stations out there wishing to check in. This is Kilo Juliet 7 Oscar Mike Oscar, your net control station, and I'm gonna check for more check-ins. Hi. Alrighty, gonna make the last call for check-ins. Anybody, anywhere, if you'd like to check in, please feel free. This is the last call, because we're gonna wind things down, but we still want to get you in there anyway.
VK2WAY, this is VK2WAY.
Victor Kilo 2 Whiskey Alpha Yankee. I was just about to call you out. I was just going to call you out because you were on my Facebook. Alright, got you down. I know you're a bit short on time, so we're going to go ahead and go straight over to you. Victor Kilo 2 Whiskey Alpha Yankee from Kilo Juliet 7 Oscar Mike Oscar. It is your turn to incriminate yourself. I mean, say hello to us.
Yeah, KJ7OMO, this is BK2WAY, and g'day everyone. Just making sure I'm making it in, but sounds like I was. I didn't think I did, so I was off looking at config, but thanks for calling me. Busy time, I think I'm working, including today, something like 60 hours extra in the next week in prep for the FIFA Women's World Cup, so lots and lots on. I have to jump in the shower and run to another rehearsal now, so yeah, just a quick g'day from me. It's been a while since I came up on net, so I've been listening on the side here while watching American cricket today, which is all kinds of strange and novel. They have a domestic T20 comp that's just started up, so yeah, called Major League Cricket. All kinds of interesting for a cricket tragic like me. Anyway, good to hear you all. I heard Dale up there, Kimberly and a few others too, so g'day everyone. Good to hear you all. This is VK2, WAY saying 73, you all, and back to KJ7OMO.
Alright, Jared. Well, it's good to hear you. So good to hear you. You're getting to be rare DX these days, but I do understand that you have a heavy schedule, and your work keeps you incredibly busy. Wow. I see there where you get, as much as 12-hour shifts there, on a lot of these, and I'm like, holy moly, how on earth do you deal with that? Wow. Anyways, again, it's good to hear you out there, and we're glad you're able to make it, even if it's just for a one-off transmission. Alrighty, folks, we're gonna make one final call for check-ins, because, yeah, we're getting ready to shut things down. But before I do, I want to see if we can get any more stations out there. Just squeeze the radio land, just squeeze that the tree just a little bit more there to see if we can just get another person out. All I need are your call signs slowly, twice, and phonetically, and you may also give your pronouns if you wish. This is Kilo Juliet 7 Oscar Mike Oscar standing by for any final round of check-ins. That was an extremely rough copy. You're just barely in the, barely making it in, just barely. But I do recognize your voice. Victor Kilo 2, Golf Papa Uniform. Got you down. Who else is out there wishing to check in at the very last moment? Wow, they all come out of the woodwork right when I was about to pull the plug. Wow. Alright, Victor Kilo 2, Golf Papa Uniform from Kilo Juliet 7, Oscar Mike Oscar returning. Good to hear you again out there. Your signal is very weak, but we're going to try and pull you out anyway. So, over to you. Oh my goodness, Ray. You're just not making it in. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. We're gonna put it back to you to try one more time. Try finding a better spot if you can. And also, if your radio's capable of cranking up that power, try doing that as well. Try and squeeze every bit of power you can out of that radio and try and find yourself a decent location to transmit your signal from. So we're gonna put it over to you one more time. VK2 GPU from KJ7 OMO. Uh, Victor Kilo 2 Golf Papa uniform from Kilo Juliet 7 Oscar Mike Oscar returning. Yeah, sadly you are just not making it into the repeater. What a bummer. But that's okay. I did hear your call sign. I do know it's you. And you've been checked in. Alrighty, folks. Last call for check-ins. Anybody, anywhere. This is the last and absolute final call for check-ins. If you'd like to get into the net, all I need are your call signs slowly, twice, and phonetically. And if you wish, you may give us your pronouns as well. This is Kilo Juliet 7, Oscar Mike Oscar, standing by for a final set of check-ins. Alrighty, folks. VK5ZSH from KJ7OMO. You're the last one on the list. Go ahead and say your final transmission from Kilo Juliet 7 Oscar Mike Oscar.
KJ7 OMO, VK5 ZSH, returning. Well, technically, I'm actually second to last on the list, because you're the last one that's on the list because you tie the ribbon at the end. Hi. Yeah, thanks for putting it on there, Kimberly. Much appreciated. I should drop in more often. It was good to hear Jared pop up there and say a quick g'day as well. So yeah, and you're right. He is literally becoming rare DX. Hi. So yeah, all right. Thanks for putting it on there, Kimberly. Much fun. A lot of information gone from A to B, etc. I didn't quite catch the call sign of the other person. I think I know who it is, so that does the rockets. Yeah, glad that I was able to help out about the ESP32 camera daughter boards. there, because there's not much to them, and they can run on the ESP 8266 as well. So yeah, all right. Cheers and 73 there, Kimberly. You have a good one on that. I'm going to go make myself a coffee, etc. And yeah, try and sort of keep somewhat lively. Because what is it? It's 1:30 here, and yeah, if I go have a nap now, probably wouldn't wake up until night time. So anyway, cheers to 73. VK5 and ZSH going clear of KJ7, IMO, and the Worldwide Pride Radio Network. Cheers.
Alrighty, Dale. VK5ZSH from KJ7 OMO returning. Thank you for hanging out with us, and I shall say 7-3, and we'll see you on the next one. Alrighty, folks, before we end it, do we have any additional final comments? Regardless if you were previously checked in or not. If you were not previously checked in, you'll automatically be checked in. So, do we have any additional final comments from any station before I shut things down? Please come now.
Hello, this is VK2 GPU, just something to say 73, and I hope that it gets through. Thanks for the net. Catch you again sometime.
Alrighty, Ray, VK2 GPU from KJ7 OMO, you made it in this time. Did you want to say anything else before I shut things down?
Hi, Ray. Bye, Ray.
Alrighty, folks. That concludes our net for today. Thank you all for participating and bringing fun to the airwaves. I would like to express gratitude to the Waverly Amateur Radio Society in Sydney and the team behind the VK3RBO repeater for allowing us to use their systems to relay this net. Special thanks to Victor Kilo 3 Juliet Echo Delta and Victor Kilo 2 Whiskey Alpha Yankee for their contributions, as well as the entire Pride Radio group for making this net possible. I now release all frequencies, repeaters, and other systems back to their regular amateur use. Thank you once again, and 7-3 to everyone from Kilo Juliet 7 Oscar Mike Oscar. Woo! That was one heck of a net. Alright, 7-3. This is Kilo Juliet 7 Oscar Mike Oscar, going clear.
KJ7 OMO, VK2 WAY, Europe as usual, thank you. Going clear as well, VK2 WAY.
VK2WAY, KJ7 OMO returning. Alright, well, we'll see you around and have fun at your job. At work. Kilo Juliet 7 Oscar Mike Oscar. I'll stand by for a couple minutes and then I will be going clear.
G'day there, Jared. I hope things are well.
Yeah, VK5ZSH, good to hear you, Dale. VK2WAY returning, and yeah, things are pretty well. I am just finished listening to Net from the shower, in fact, so just about to get ready and head out of the house for another night of FIFA rehearsals. We've got our friendly, our venue test, like what happened at Marvel Stadium on Friday night against the Grants, I think it was. We have our turn tomorrow night to test the first of the venues I'm working. I'm working two different World Cup venues, and I think opening, closing, and about 6 other games in between or something crazy like that. Back to you, VK5 and ZSH for a quick chat, VK2 WAY.
VK2 WAY, VK5 ZSH returning. Yeah, no problems there, Jared. Yeah, no, just thought I'd drop in quickly and say good day, see how things were, etc. I won't hold it there because I'm on a bit of a dodgy All-Star link at the moment. For some reason, my transmitted audio is okay, but the audio that I've got coming back gets a bit stuttery, and yeah, sort of a little bit blank. So I've still got that little problem to work out. Anyway, all right, you take care of that, and yeah, stop being a stranger, etc. Hi, and yeah, we'll get you further down the log, as they say. VK5 ZSH going clear of VK2 WAY. Cheers.
Yeah, VK5 ZSH, VK2 WAY back for a final here, and yeah, it's been a hectic time. This week, starting Origin night, I haven't stopped, and that's on top of my day job, and the next week is another 50 hours on top of my day job as well somehow. So yeah, it's all going to be chaos, but I'll get through it, and yeah, it's still all over the, still not quite sure exactly what it's all involving even. All I know is I have to carefully dress right now because I cannot show any non-approved logos anywhere. So, yeah, footwear to bottles we drink from must not show logos that have not paid billions of dollars to be featured at the FIFA World Cup, basically. Yeah, crazy. But, you know, they came through our control room the other day and they wanted to put tape on all the monitors and equipment anywhere there was a brand. And, well, we're not going to be shooting any pictures in our control room. That never happens, so, yeah, no. Anyway, I'm going to run, finish getting dressed, and out to Olympic Stadium. VK5 ZSH, pleasure, and I will chat sometime soon further down the log, as they say, as you said, VK2, WAY, going clear, and be on the side for a little while longer.
Alrighty, folks, on YouTube, I'm going to end it right here. Be sure to like, subscribe, ring the bell, and we'll see you on the next one. 7-3 from Kilo Juliet 7, Oscar Mike Oscar.